Hello, everybody. I'm here with Anna Navarro on another edition of Behind the Table. Cha-Cha is here as well. We were just chatting about the fact that you also have a podcast without me in it. And we were going through, you sent me a comment last night of somebody, you tell the story.
Yes, so I've got a podcast. It's called Bleep
with
Anna Navarro. And it's actually, the name of the podcast is inspired by you.
Oh, good.
Because of all the times you tell me not to cuss and you warn me not to do it in English or Spanish. Because,
Yes.
Sometimes I try to sneak in
Sure.
some cuss words
At
in
this point,
Spanish.
I don't even risk it. If you say hermano, I'm bleeping it. It's ridiculous.
Amigo, bleep. And so you bleep me all the time.
Yes.
And that's why this is called Bleep, because in this podcast, I don't get bleeped.
Yes.
But so I'm reading the comments yesterday because I find them really helpful to read what people are saying and what they're thinking. And I see one that says, "Great podcast, but we miss Brian." So I send it to you and you say to me,
Yeah, that was me. But I gave you 5 stars, so I think at least you should appreciate that. But yes.
I need a Brian cutout.
All right.
But it's I tell you again, I have been amazed by how much work it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen. If you need a Brian cutout, hold on. We'll take a photo of me going like this, and you can just talk to that for 4 hours straight without.
Do you yawn with everybody, or is it just something you leave for me?
We have a lot going on today, and I occasionally have to stifle the yawn. I've never actively yawned in a podcast with you. I defy someone to find any evidence otherwise. That is not true.
Yeah, because you have them cut it out.
Yes, true. All right. You're not boring. I'll say that. All right. Let's get into it. Cha-Cha is back in New York. And now the two of you, these Miami women, have survived 2 New York City snowstorms. How are you doing?
We're not doing well.
No.
This is not fun. I was beyond myself when you told me to come in
There's
early.
another one coming, by the way.
No puedo ser, no puedo más.
Yeah.
I was at the South Beach Wine and Food Festival.
Yes.
I was literally looking out at the sand and the sun. You know what I was watching? I was watching what is that thing called when people have a parachute? Parasailing.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was parasailing in front of me. It was wonderful, walking in the sand, drinking wine, eating great food, laughing, going to parties. Wonderful. When you call and say, "Can you come in on Saturday?" And I said, "No, I will come in on Sunday." And frankly, all the flights got canceled on Sunday.
There was no coming in on Sunday. Yeah, it was no way.
Yeah.
Except you found a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cha-Cha likes private jets.
I understand. And you're very good at cozying up to potential rides.
Well, how often am I on a plane? I'm on a plane at sometimes 4, 5, 6 times
It's
in
crazy.
1 week.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I can find ways to avoid TSA pre-check and all of that stuff and the lines and the
You should just be
delays.
instead of tips, you should just hand out miles to people. Honestly, it's pretty good.
Don't even think about it.
I want your miles. All right, Christmas. Okay, so what do we make of Trump's message at the State of the Union? I mean, you didn't get to be on the show to talk about this yet.
Yeah.
Did you watch the whole thing?
Yeah, I did, and I want my 1 hour and 47 minutes back.
Yes.
I thought it was long. I thought it would have been a lot more effective, frankly, had it been shorter. And it was performative. It felt like a game show. I was waiting for at any moment for Oprah to pop out of the door and start giving away cars, because he was giving away medals, he was giving away awards, he was giving. It was like all of these type of things, and so the actual policy speech, the actual State of the Union, had very little meat on it. And what it did have was a ton of lies. Yesterday, Daniel Dale from CNN did the fact checking, and it was over 20 lies. And some of them were so overt and lazy lies, right? That anybody can go and Google and realize that he is lying.
Not a single undocumented person crossed the border. Yeah.
Well, he said that the guy who killed the woman in North Carolina, tragic death, in the public transportation, had come in through open borders. The guy was born in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. He's a native-born U.S. citizen. He said that 12,000 murderers had come in through, under Biden. That's a lie, mentira. He said that Maduro opened up hospitals and insane asylums and flooded the United States with those people. That's a lie. I've explained to you before. It happened in Miami in 1980. And it happened in Cuba. Cuba did that. But Maduro, there is no evidence of that. And so I think that, he distracted from all the lies with all of this game show performance that he put on. But also, there was I saw that now the Republicans have put out an ad touting that line where he was trying to goad the Democrats into standing up. He said, stand up if you think defending U.S. citizens is more important than defending illegal aliens. And of course, the Democrats didn't stand up because they're not going to get, if the king asked them to rise, they're not going to rise. And Republicans would not have done it had Biden done it either. Okay. But here's the thing. I find it rich and hypocritical for Donald Trump to say to Democrats and for Republicans to be touting that line, stand up if you stand up for U.S. citizens, if you defend U.S. citizens over illegal immigrants, when he didn't mention the Epstein survivors. Those are U.S. citizens, and they were sitting right there in front of him. And he didn't have the decency to so much as acknowledge their presence. When he didn't mention Alex Preddy, U.S. citizen, killed in Minneapolis. When he didn't mention Renee Good, U.S. citizen, killed in Minneapolis. When he didn't mention Ruben Ray Martinez, U.S. citizen, killed in Texas by federal agents. When he didn't mention Marimar Martinez. She is the young teacher's aide, U.S. citizen, that was shot 5 times. She survived. So don't lecture me about standing up for U.S. citizens. Don't lecture me about defending U.S. citizens when you are killing and injuring U.S. citizens on the streets of America for exercising their right to protest and speak out against these abuses by the Trump government.
You referenced the Epstein files, and today was the big news coming out of the Department of Justice. They're now saying they are reviewing whether some interview reports were improperly tagged in the review process and omitted from the public release of the Epstein files. And this comes after an alleged victim of Jeffrey Epstein, who, according to Congressman Robert Garcia, accused President Trump of assaulting her when she was a minor. Of course, Trump has consistently denied all allegations and any wrongdoing in connection to Epstein. But what's your take on this? I guess my first question is, were you surprised to hear this? I'm guessing not so much.
Frankly, I was surprised that they were so sloppy. Mm-hmm. That they were so sloppy that I think this was first reported by NPR, that was able to cross-reference some evidence logs of records that were given to Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer, and that weren't on the release of the files. And they were able to quickly put together that it was the accusation against Trump and Epstein by this 13-year-old who called the tip line. The FBI, she alleges she was assaulted when she was 13. She called the tip line after Jeffrey Epstein was arrested to tell her story. She was interviewed 3 times by the FBI. There are interview notes. So this is not like 1 page. These are apparently like 50 pages that are missing. And so I was surprised by how sloppy they were, and by how good a job some of these reporters and people pouring through these files are doing. I am sickened by it. I'm just so sickened and disgusted by how many times these Epstein survivors have been failed by their government. I'm pissed as hell at Merrick Garland. I am pissed that this man did not release this when he should have. And my theory is that he didn't do it because I think Merrick Garland was more preoccupied with his own reputation and not wanting to go down in history as being politicized, which is the reason he prosecuted Hunter Biden, which is the reason that he appointed a special counsel to investigate Joe Biden over the classified materials, and which is the reason I believe that he didn't release these Epstein files, because he didn't want anybody to say, oh, he's being political. He's acting in a political way. But in the process of protecting his own reputation, he failed the Epstein survivors because he left it in the hands of an administration that is politicized, of a DOJ that is weaponized and that does exactly what Donald Trump tells them to do and tells them not to do. So I think Merrick Garland is is to me one of the worst culprits in this. I hope his ass gets hauled in front of Congress and he answers why he didn't release this. Because Republicans love to say, don't you think that if there had been something about Trump in there, don't you think that if there had been something that incriminated Trump in there, Merrick Garland, Biden would have released it? No, because Joe Biden, unlike Donald Trump, did not have his attorney general on puppet strings. No, because
the conservatives think he did, and that's why they that's why they prosecuted Trump.
How do you square away having the attorney general on puppet strings and having the guy prosecute your only remaining son? I mean, do you think in a million years Pam Bondi would prosecute any of the Trump children?
I do not. No.
Do you?
Yeah.
So it just doesn't square away. So it's terrible. I feel like these women are being victimized again. It's horrible that they say there is nothing to investigate, that this DOJ is basically saying there's nothing to see here. Move along. There's nothing to prosecute. There's nothing to investigate. Todd Blanche has said there's no ongoing investigations. I am happy to see that the court of public opinion is acting up, and that people like Bill Gates and Larry Summers and the guy formerly known as Prince Andrew and the former UK ambassador to the US, Mandelson, and, Pete Attia and, others are paying the consequences. Deepak Chopra, come on, spiritual guru, signing off with hugs and kisses to Epstein, after he'd been convicted of sexual crimes. It just doesn't, it's terrible. And it goes back to this thing. And I don't care if they are Republican. I don't care if they are Democrats, because it goes back to this thing about how not everyone is equal under the law, and how these powerful men live by their own rules and think they can flaunt the rules. They can violate the rules and it means nothing. And we're seeing it happen again in Congress right now. I am horrified by what's going on with this congressman from Texas.
Well, that was Republican. What I was about to bring up. So for people who don't know, there have been these text messages that have come to light that appear to show Texas Representative Tony Gonzales pursuing a relationship with his former staffer more than a year before she died by suicide. Gonzales has consistently denied the affair and has said he will not resign. Should he resign?
Yes, of course he should resign. And Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, should demand that he resigns. He is a Republican. Mike Johnson has a one-member majority right now. So if this guy resigns, Tony Gonzales, he is in an even a tighter spot when it comes to passing legislation or stopping anything he doesn't want. But that shouldn't matter. And I just draw a parallel between the fact that people look the other way on Epstein and that people like Mike Johnson are looking the other way, and other Republicans are looking the other way on what's happened with Tony Gonzales. I will say there are Republican women whom I don't agree with on most things. People like Paulina Luna, people like Nancy Mace, people like Lauren Boebert, who have stood up and spoken up and said, Tony Gonzales is disgusting and he needs to resign. So let's just say this. Right now, we know that there are verified text messages which were lewd and inappropriate between him and this staffer, Regina Santos Aviles. We know that the woman's husband found the text and wrote to the office text chain saying, hey, I've discovered that my wife was having an affair with your boss and we're going to be getting a divorce. And that led to her being ostracized professionally and having a bunch of problems, right? Her husband wants a divorce. Her husband knows thinks she's had an affair with this guy. Now the entire office knows what's been going on. She's been under all of this duress from the congressman asking for these things. Think about the dynamic of power. He was a congressman and her boss, and she was the director, in Uvalde. This is the district that covers San Antonio and a part of San Antonio and Uvalde.
So even if you remove the tragedy of her taking her own life,
yes,
this is still something that he should.
Well,
step down for.
There's actually a specific ethics law in Congress saying because it had to be like there's an ethics regulation, because of course they had to say it. I mean, it's ridiculous that it needs to be said that members of Congress should not have relationships with a member of their staff. And so, take everything else away. He violated that ethics regulation by the House of Representatives. And hypocritical, holy roller Mike Johnson is saying there's nothing to see here. He can take it up with his constituents. But the tragedy itself was horrible. This woman has an 8-year-old son. This woman had a life. And so, while this Tony Gonzales is out there, this congressman, pretending to be some great family man with 6 kids, and that's like a big part of his persona and his campaigns. And I'm glad we're talking about this, because this Tuesday, March 3rd, is primary date in Texas. And if he doesn't have the shame to, la vergüenza, to resign, then I hope the people of Texas force him out by voting against him.
Let's switch gears to something that I know also probably enraged you. I wish I had some good news today. Not really a lot going on. A golden doodle. I own a golden doodle, a mini one, was abandoned at the Las Vegas airport this week. The dog's owner reportedly left the dog tied up at a JetBlue ticket counter because they didn't have the proper paperwork to fly with the dog. The owner was arrested for animal abandonment, and the dog is now with one of the officers who have been looking to adopt a golden doodle. So that's nice. But what are your thoughts about this?
Did you see this story?
Yeah.
Did you see the video?
Yeah.
Okay, so listen. People need to understand that, I fly with Cha-Cha all the time.
Yeah.
You've got to put in the work in order to be able to fly with your dog, whether it's a service animal or whether it's a pet. There are forms on the airline websites that you have to fill out. You've got to, you've got to attest that they're not going to be dangerous. You've got to send in proof of their vaccinations. There's things you've got to do. You don't just show up with a dog or a cat or any pet at an airport counter and expect to be let into the plane. But this Cruella de Vil, this bitch from hell, tied the dog to the ticket counter and went to get on her plane. And she got arrested while she was in line. And I thought the story had a happy ending because the cop, whose name is, listen to this name, Skeeter Black, adopted the dog and named it JetBlue. And so what happened to that dog is horrible. If you can't take care of a dog like they were your children, if you can't make sure that they are taken care of, if you'd rather get on a plane than figure out what to do with your pet, then don't get a dog.
No, my wife would tie me to the ticket counter and leave me behind, but she would never leave the dog behind, I'll tell you.
No doubt that if I had to choose between leaving Al or Cha-Cha behind,
under no
adios,
circumstances.
Alberto.
Of course.
I'll see you later.
All right. So, we also, in addition to Behind the Table and The View, we, of course, also do The Weekend View, which
I have so many jobs right now. I don't know what to do.
It's really a lot for you.
I'm like Marco Rubio. I'm the Marco Rubio of TV.
Well, we're in the golden age. Everyone's working. So, according to Trump. So, I have to ask, because when we started this, you've never been the biggest fan of the lighter topics. Let's not lie.
No, I hate them. I hate them.
The
I
Golden
find them
Bachelor, that sort of thing is never your cup of tea.
The whole mental health thing drives me crazy. The whole Bachelor.
However,
Love is Blind. Ugh.
However, we learned something during the taping of this week's Weekend View. You're a big Shahs of Sunset fan.
I love them so much.
This is rather unexpected. Tell me about this.
Well, I think part of the reason I love them is because I actually have Persian friends who are incredible. This is them. They are so incredibly over the top. They are such a tight-knit community. Everything revolves around food. They make a celebration out of everything. So I know people like the Shahs of Sunset, but these folks, they love each other so much. I think it's one of the best reality shows on TV because they're not pretending to be perfect and they're not pretending to be rich. You see all their warts. You see all of their challenges in relationships, their financial challenges, their addictions, their this, their that, their fights. They get into the most glorious fights. And it's Gonessa and Mercedes and Ressa. Ressa is the best character. He is this gay Persian who married this white guy. And my favorite character, my favorite person, they're not characters, they're real life people, is Vida. Anytime a reality show has a larger than life mother figure, I think it makes an overbearing mother who is just funny as hell without trying to be. I think that's TV gold. And so, yeah, I love this show. And the Shahs of Sunset were on for, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 seasons. And then they went away. And I always missed them. And I always wonder what had happened with them. And so now there's like a reboot type thing back on Bravo that's called, what's it called? The Valley Persian Style. So now they've all kind of moved to the Valley in LA. There's one girl who hates living there in the Valley. And they're just, but they're like, to me, they are real life people in that they have some of the same problems. You know, they get into fights with their spouses. They get into fights about money. They get into fights about how to raise their children. One of them wants to move to another house. One of them wants to move out of the Valley. The other one's like, you've got to, we can't afford it. It's the best TV ever.
The longer I do this job, the more the line blurs between the Bravo universe and the View table. I'm just saying, every year it gets a little closer. That's all.
Do you like Persian food?
I don't think I've ever had Persian food.
Oh, come on, Brian.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm very basic.
There is nothing like Persian rice. They have this crispy rice that is like the most delicious thing. So I love all of that Mediterranean food. All the food from the Middle East I love. I just love the whole thing. I love that show.
Well, there was some very sad news from the Bravo world yesterday. Salt Lake City housewife Mary Cosby's son, Robert Jr., died. Been reading about this everywhere. It's very heartbreaking. The cause of death has not been confirmed, but he had been battling a drug addiction. What was your reaction when you heard this?
Well, she's gone through this. So I watched two things: the Shahs and the housewives. And I know several of the housewives, not anybody from Utah, but she has been putting this on the air. Their struggles. She has been, so she hasn't been hiding it, so it didn't come out of nowhere. In one of the last episodes, he was in jail, and she said, "I'm happy that he's in jail because I know that he's not using if he is there." But this struck really close to home for me. Al's oldest daughter from his first marriage had an addiction problem since she was in her teens. She was in jail. Al would go and visit her every weekend. She was in jail in Palm Beach. And she ended up dying of the consequences of drug addiction. And I got to tell you, it is something still to this day he cannot talk about. Yeah. I remember being in New Hampshire when Jeb Bush was running, being in New Hampshire with Al. And at every town hall in New Hampshire, you do town halls during campaigns, somebody would invariably stand up and talk about having lost somebody to drug addiction. It's a big problem, opioid addiction in New Hampshire. And when they would stand up and tell their stories, Al, who cannot talk about this, he cannot talk about this, I would sometimes look over at him and he had tears rolling down his eyes. After his daughter died, he had to go to a place and put himself together. Like there was a place where parents who this happens to, can go and work through it. And I have so many friends who are rich, who are successful, who have everything else going on for their lives, who've been great parents. This is not a reflection of you not being a great parent. Sometimes these things happen. Sometimes these things happen.
We've said it on the show before, but I don't think there's anybody whose life is not impacted in some way or knows someone whose life has been impacted in a very strong way by drug addiction.
And I have friends right now who I know whose lives are consumed by trying to save their child, and who, whenever you have a child like this, who's addicted, every day, every night you go to bed afraid that you'll get this call, that your kid died of an overdose, or that your kid is in jail, or that or your kid is homeless somewhere and you can't find the kid. There's so many American families going through this, and I am grateful to Mary Cosby from Housewives of Utah, Salt Lake, for destigmatizing it, for talking about it openly. She had many conversations with her son, where she was trying to reach him. She never gave up on this kid. She always showered him with love, and like with so many others, this happened. But to the families going through this, again, my message is, this is not a reflection on you. This doesn't mean that you have failed your kid. It doesn't mean that you haven't loved your kid or raised your kid.
No, you can do everything right and still.
Yeah. And sometimes you just can't reach a kid.
All right. Well,
let's end on something happy.
What are you doing this weekend? Something glamorous, I'm sure.
What am I doing this weekend? No, last weekend was so glamorous. I don't think I have any glamour left in me this weekend.
I have my big dinner this weekend.
Oh, you do?
The dinner you got me into through your best friend, Lee
Foursquare. What's it called?
It is called Fort Charles, and it's Fort Charles Prime. It's the hardest table to get in New York City right now, and I appreciate it. I'm very excited. I'm taking my wife to dinner, and it's going to be great.
That is great. I'll go to dinner somewhere in Miami. Just a hopefully quiet dinner. Last weekend was insane. The South Beach Food and Wine Festival, which was founded and organized by my best friend Lee. Drink. Mm-hmm. It was celebrating its 25th year. And it's just the most terrific amalgamation, gathering of the best chefs in the world, in the U.S. and the world. There were 119 different events all over the city through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I had to miss because you made me come here.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
And, there's dinners and big parties, and DJ Khaled was there performing, and Fat Joe was there performing. Ja Rule was there performing. There was, on last Thursday night, I flew home and I went straight from the airport, because of course I do. So I land at 9 o'clock at night and go straight from the airport to this massive beach party on the sand, where this guy, who is apparently huge, I'd never heard of him, called Diplo, was performing. He's a DJ, and he's and I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. But
when Lee told me, there's a Diplo concert, for some reason I thought diplomats are Diplo. Is it a band of diplomats who
who wouldn't want to go to see the diplomats?
Who wouldn't want to go see the diplomat? I had no idea who this guy is, but he's you know who he is?
I do, yes.
Okay, and he was playing something called, what's it called? SMM?
Electronic music.
Yes.
Yeah.
¿Cómo se llama?
EDM.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell that is either.
Yeah.
I would have probably preferred to see the Diplomats with their little band.
He's a huge
playing.
deal, yeah.
But it was so much fun. I got to spend a little time with Sofia Vergara, who I love to spend time, because she is hilarious.
She's very funny,
effortlessly hilarious. And
is it intentional or is she just funny? I can't tell.
She's funny. She's funny. She is just the things that that come out of her mouth, la ocurrencia que le sale. She is so Colombian and so funny and so beautiful. But I mean, every time I get to spend any time with her, I end up in rolled over in laughter. And she was there supporting her son, who's got an empanada line that I think sells in Walmart or Target. I mean, it's called Toma empanadas. They're actually pretty good. So it was just fun for me. It's it was fun to be on the beach and see the water. And
All right, so you've had enough fun. You can,
Yeah.
we'll get another snowstorm and you'll be fine.
when is the next snowstorm?
Maybe Monday. Thank you for joining me today,
Chacha,
Anna.
You're kidding me.
Yeah. Tomorrow on The View, we have a great show. We've got Morgan Freeman coming on and also Icon, of course.
You know, Morgan Freeman, I don't know if I'm going to get to tell him this on the show. Morgan Freeman visited my little town in Nicaragua,
Oh, really?
Chinandega. He visited one of my best friends over there who's got a bunch of horses, and I guess he loves horses. And he went and visited their farm. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
That's
so there's
pretty cool.
pictures of that. It's pretty cool. And I mean, this is a little town. When I tell people that I'm from Chinandega, Nicaragua, nobody knows
Nobody
where the hell
knows.
that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
But Morgan Freeman will know.
kind of extraordinary.
We also have comedian Taylor Tomlinson. We'll have Hot Topics. We have Sarah Eisen joining us again as a guest host, so it'll be great. And then we'll see you again on Monday here on Behind the Table.
No, but maybe it snows and I have to stay in Miami. Wouldn't
No.
that be a shame?
It would be a shame because you have to be here. Thank you.
Behind the Table is executive produced by Brian Teta. Supervising producers are Nathan Getty and Summer Shake. Associate producers are Emily Darcy and Katerina Alexopoulos. And our editor is Brian Davis. And director of publicity is Laurie Hogan. From ABC Audio, Trevor Hastings serves as senior producer, with director of podcast programming Josh Cohen.